live event. Today we're going to be talking about planning lessons. My name is Marcus James, and next to me is...
Hi, I'm Karen.
Hello everyone. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments. We are live on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube right now.
Fantastic.
Okay, Karen. Obviously, planning lessons and courses is our theme for October, November and December on Teaching English. And we've had quite a few conversations on our channels so far. One that really caught my eye this morning was your Friday Fun poll about
Yeah.
if your lesson plan were a job, what would it be? Can you tell us a little bit
Yes.
about what you found out so far?
Well, quite interestingly, we gave about four choices, and the idea was to around it was, are you a planner in a very sort of meticulous, detailed way? You might have to do that. As part of the official lesson plan template, or is it a bit on the back of a notepad, or is it a bit all over in your head? What kind of things do you think about? So we gave different options of, is it like an architect or a lawyer or a curious clown or an abstract artist? And most are saying an architect. One
Okay.
comment was saying an architect because it starts with the mind and a plan, what you're thinking about. I don't know. What about you? When you plan your lessons, what kind of job would your lesson plan look like?
Well, I think there are two jobs because, yes, maybe an architect of the lesson plan, but the delivery of the plan more kind of an abstract artist.
So it might have different jobs as you move through the process.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
I mean, for me, when I first do a course, like a new group, um, it's quite detailed, and I put in, like, I really think about a lot of the detail. But when I repeat the lesson plan, I'll tweak it a little bit because each class is different, and I do lessons at different times of the year. So, like right now, the sun is coming in quite a lot on one side of the classroom, so I need to factor that in when when I'm thinking about how we organize the classroom. So I think, yes, I would like to think I start off as an architect with a little of abstract artist thrown in, because, like, a plan is a plan, but it doesn't always go according to plan.
That is true. And
And
Kakimov now on Instagram is asking what the topic is today. We're talking
oh,
about
good
lesson planning.
question.
Talking about planning lessons.
Yes, planning lessons. And so I guess, like, another question that I often ask myself when I do lesson plans, because sometimes I do a really detailed lesson plan, other times I don't. And sometimes I think about, like, what the outcome is that I want to happen. But then sometimes I'm also thinking, oh, this is a nice idea. How do I bring it into a lesson? Or sometimes I sort of start from the beginning and then go, oh, we're never going to get all of that done. I need a rethink. So I'm
Absolutely.
curious, from teachers watching, like, sort of, what happens in your brain?
Exactly. Let us know.
Yeah,
Karen, loads of teachers joining us on all three platforms
I
right now.
see. That's great.
Quick shout out starting on Facebook. I can see more Hibidun in Malaysia. On Instagram, I've got Mysterious 0309. And not sure where you're watching from. And Saravana from Edinburgh on YouTube.
I saw that. Edinburgh. I'll be there in December.
Be very cold there.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, teachers, let us know if you have any questions or concerns or tips you'd like to share about lesson planning. Karen, for example, what would your top tip for planning your lessons be? Where will you start?
So I think I have a multi fill in the blank, a multifaceted, I'm not sure, way of approaching lesson planning. So I'll sort of think about the ideas. So for me, I don't have a book. So that already means that I don't have a sort of foundation to follow. Um, so I sort of plan out the whole course with all the things I want to do, with like ideas, almost like a list of ideas, things that I know work really well for the level I'm teaching. And then I let that sit in my head for a little bit and start to have a few ideas. And then I start writing down a bit of a plan, and then I'll copy it onto the computer, because we share plans. I work with two other teachers, and so we team teach and we plan together.
Excellent.
What about you?
Um, I have two ways of approaching planning lessons. One is to start from the end. Like, what do I picture my students leaving class with? How much more language will they leave? Will they be more confident in a certain skill by the end of the lesson? And then I work backwards, like how we're going to actually reach that point. I find that quite helpful because it's also really good to really keep that lesson aim and objective front and centre in your mind at all times. The other way I tend to plan lessons, I'm sure there's a word for this, is kind of from the middle, or I know that I want something at the heart of the lesson. Now, it could be a paragraph from a book, it could be a little drama scene, it could be a video or a music lyric, and then I work out sort of how to get that into a lesson. So I know we want, let's say, to play a little 3-minute video in the middle. So beforehand, then I'm going to have to check what vocabulary they need, build scaffold along the way, and then afterwards, then what can we extract from that, post listening, post watching, what type of activity. So yeah, it's kind of that.
Interesting. That's very interesting. I guess maybe I do a little bit of that as well, because I want the kind of, the meat, the burger to be a main part of the lesson. But then you need to think, how do you introduce it? How do you bring in the vocabulary? How do you present the language? And what about, bringing out some of the language? How that happens. And then, and this is the part that I'm still not very good at, the practice and the consolidation. So for me, I have an alarm set on my phone for 5 minutes before the end of the lesson, so we can all come back together and do a sort of final summary, because we're all, lots of different people are doing different things. We come back together and write up the keywords on the board, what we've done, what was enjoyable. But it always feels like a rush at the end. So
It always does,
something
yeah.
I'm working on.
Yeah. Quick comment from Maria. I think that having a book is good to have an idea about what to teach. And I think Maria didn't say it explicitly, but I think a lot of us use the book as a guide. We try to use what we can, but other times we prefer to be more creative or finding resources, material that is more suitable for our learners.
I have to say, I do really like having a book. It's a kind of foundation for me, that I can decide what I want to take or adapt, or like you say, if there's a song or something current, that's happening, like a big weather storm, or something that everyone's talking about in the local area, then you can somehow bring that into the class. I saw that comment that you just put up. Oh no,
Yeah,
go
so
on.
on this one, I think you're not alone, Karen. It's always a mad dash in the
Yeah,
world when the bell
the bell,
rings.
the bell rings, and there's a big flurry of packing everything up. And I've tried to have. We also have different groups in the class, and each week it's the responsibility of one group to do the end of class activities, to make sure everyone has the worksheet, to close the windows, switch the lights off, clean the board, put the desks in order. Plus, to do that in 5 minutes and do the summary wrap up, it always, yes, Rania, it always feels like a rush. And then the bell rings and everybody races out the door. With the comment that you
Absolutely.
brought up before about the backwards,
Yeah, I think it's the same user, just
same as this
reworded
one, yeah.
differently. Yeah, Ziad. Yeah, identified desired results. Yeah, again, I think it does help reinforce what you're hoping to get out of the lesson. Yeah.
Yeah, starting with the end in mind. One thing that I do, which I keep forgetting to do, but this is a good reminder for me to do it, is writing the times in real time from the end of the lesson. So if the lesson finishes at like 4 o'clock, then I go, okay, 10 minutes for the review, because 5 minutes is not enough. So 10
No.
minutes for the wrap up, the end, the tasks, the tidying up, the get centering, the kind of bringing everybody back together. And I write that as like 3:50, and
Yeah.
then 3:30 we need to be at this stage. And that helps me a little bit, but it is
Yeah. And
always a rush.
it is a rush, but then I think if you know that you're running behind, I mean, there's two things there. One, i- is there something you can skip in order to allow the time that you need for that last part, or do a bit of sort of reflection on why aren't you meeting your times? Are you underestimating, overestimating?
Yeah.
As I said, it's convenient to like round things up to like 5 minutes. So 5 minutes for introduction, another 5 minutes for this activity. But maybe if you observe your own teaching and see how much time you actually do need, especially if you're reorganizing students.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I think one of the things is sort of generally teachers, we like talking a lot. And so I've noticed that I often do quite a long explanation, and I think that I can cut down on.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes, planning lessons is the key for a successful, definitely, definitely.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I think going back
yes.
to the book, yeah, it's good as a guide, but yeah, take some time to actually get creative because teachers are creative by nature, aren't they?
Absolutely. And we've often talked about this, Marcus, that, hashtag teacher brain is never off, and we might be in the shop and go, oh, I've
Yeah.
just had an idea.
Okay, we've got a little controversial question from Augusta on Facebook. Do you think AI could be a useful tool for planning lessons?
That's an absolutely fantastic question, and I would throw that back to teachers watching. What do you think? Do you use it for planning? Um, what,
Absolutely.
can it be used for planning? Um,
Yeah, I think last year we did some great sessions. You can find the webinar recordings on our website, but we looked at using AI to help the teacher to help us prepare our lessons. And Fajrudin, I think I did a live with him, who showed us with Microsoft Copilot taking, for example,
yes.
a website or a story or something, and then feeding and prompting the AI to create a lesson plan based on that, telling sort of level, the interests of his students as well. So yes, it can be done, especially if you're using some authentic material. Yeah, but again, let us know, teachers. Do you use AI to help you plan your lessons?
Well, there's one there from Matt. I'll just bring that. This
Yeah.
Matt is saying to create audios and pictures. So I'm a bit behind on my use of AI, but I have just discovered I can make pictures. And so I used AI to make some, because I was doing a lesson in the garden about watering and deep watering and surface watering, and it's much easier to show with pictures. But my drawing is absolutely terrible, so I can't draw those things on the board. It's not very obvious. And I used AI to make those simple pictures. It took a while because I needed to get my prompts right. But then I made a worksheet with those images, and that did save me quite a lot of time, and I think it was just clearer for the students.
Yeah, excellent. Obaid Randa on Instagram says AI is a good assistant, but we should put our spirit. And I think that's key there, isn't it? We know our learners, and it's our class, so it's our lesson. You know, it should be with our personality.
Yes, and I think this one's as well from Nada. AI is helpful, but you have to choose the best that suits students and their abilities. Um, so one of the things that I quite like about AI is that it knows what I teach and remembers. And so as it's learning more about me, it's producing things that are more helpful for me because it knows the level and the number of kids that I have and their language level. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. Oh, so many comments. Yes.
So, I know, well, so many platforms as well. I'm trying to look on
Yeah.
Instagram at the moment. Um,
So I mean, the way that I use AI is mostly for ideas. For ideas that I then use as a foundation to build worksheets and to build a lesson around. Um, I found that, yeah, and now starting to use it for a little bit for images as well, because it saves me time.
yeah.
Like I think Carla is saying, AI can definitely help us planning, at least giving us a broad idea, and from there you can add the specifics for every class. Exactly. So it gives that, it's almost like kickstarting thinking.
Yeah, and I think what you mentioned there about and a few teachers have as well, Mysterious0309 on Instagram says, I use AI to create songs. You know, sometimes when you're
Yes.
wanting that song to be the meat in the lesson, but you can't find the right, then just ask, get it created for you.
Here's
Love that.
one from YouTube. I always start by looking at the input materials in the course book. Then I always try to incorporate a task for each lesson. AI is good at finding suitable tasks. So again, that's kind of for ideas, right, as well. And
Yeah,
starting off with the book and then adding some pieces. It's kind of like building in a way. That's why everybody's saying
back
they're
to
an
the
architect.
architect. Yeah, excellent.
um, wow, interesting, interesting, interesting.
That's so many comments. Um,
Yeah, so it's so a this one also on YouTube. AI can be used as a scaffold for teachers. Yes.
Absolutely.
And I think
Yes.
for me, when I'm using AI, it's sort of like I feel like not so alone. You know, it's almost like I'm talking to somebody to bounce the ideas and it starts my own thinking.
Yes, yes. I've never tried that, but yeah, I see how it can. Because sometimes you just need that one bounce to then set
Yes,
you off in a different direction.
exactly. That's it. It's like yes, it is. It's just that beginning push because sometimes it can feel quite sort of yeah, very isolating in a way, just thinking by myself, how can I do this? And sometimes talking out loud helps. Or if I'm talking to AI and I go, oh, I don't like that idea, but it's given me another idea
Absolutely.
for that.
Yeah, I think there's this comment here from Liz Antoinette.
Hmm.
It's a tool, it's useful. You can prepare worksheets, activities for free practice, and everything can be connected to a specific content you need, but the input comes from the expert, the teacher. So it's not about relying on AI, but knowing how to get the best out of AI.
Yes, I think there's been quite a few comments around that by going, you still need the teacher who has the deep knowledge of the students. There was another comment earlier on about once you get to know your students quite well, um, you know how long things might take for them, and you
Yeah,
know which groups work well together. You know things that they might find harder and are going to take a little bit longer. Um,
yeah. So
oh, yeah,
again, yeah.
exactly.
So using AI is good for planning, but we need to know our learners because they are human and diverse. So again, timings, pair work, group work, different dynamics. AI can't help with that really. I mean, maybe they can give suggestions, but we know our learners.
I like this one from Branka. I love planning. Ah, you're so lucky. I've been saving my notebooks for 40 years, never repeat the same lesson. Innovation is a must. My plans are like relics. I have also kept all of my planning notebooks, and some of them are in Scotland. And so that's a good idea. I might go and revisit some of them, because, when the lesson goes well and it's all really worked, a lot of that is to do with really thinking hard about all of the steps and how the steps flow. Lesson flow is such a hard thing to do. When we plan, it's like a fantastic plan, and then you get into the classroom, something happens, it starts snowing outside, or there's a big thunder and lightning, and you're like, no, 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 let's keep going. Instead of moving around
Yeah,
with what is coming. Yeah,
power through.
yeah.
Jubba Sanura on Instagram asks, will you save this live broadcast? Yes, you'll be able to find it on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube shortly after we finish.
Oh, here's one from Liliana. I was kind of reluctant to use AI, but now thanks to you, I started to consider it. Well, good luck with it. It's a learning curve. Yes, and this one from Cosmina from Facebook. I mean that the learning of it should be student-centered based on daily needs and interests of our learners, which is sort of at the heart of learner-centered teaching, isn't it?
Yeah, and that really brings us to this comment from Branka. Oh no, I think, have you done this comment?
Yes.
All right. Sorry. I was distracted. I was in conversation on Instagram. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm glad
Yeah,
someone's paying
yeah.
attention.
As all the comments are coming through. Yeah. No, it is. It's some people say that lesson planning is an art. And, when you go on a course, like when I studied to be a teacher, we did a lot of work on planning lessons. And I had to write lessons that were like, 20 pages long. That's completely impractical for a teacher to do. But it's kind of trained my brain to be able to plan in my head and then write it down. And then sort of change it and tweak it. So I've got another question for people is, do you handwrite your lesson plans or do you do them on a device? Might be an interesting poll. Yeah. How sort of, what is it on? Is it on a book? I mean, for me, I've got my like big notebook that I take in and I look back at lessons. Like somebody was commenting on about keeping the lesson plans for a long time, and you can look back at your lessons. Do you print them out? Like, how do you look at them in class?
Yeah, mine are very scribbly, and I tend to cross things out, move things. I've got arrows moving things around to different stages of the lesson. But I also find it useful to add feedback to each of those sections. Like, for example, if an activity, I was very strict on time, I might say, oh, this needs more time next time, or this needs more explanation or a clearer demonstration for an activity.
I always mean to do that. And I think I'll never forget what I felt at the end of the lesson. We've got some good comments and questions here. So this one is from YouTube. I've been typing them since eternity while my wife has been handwriting them. Interesting.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah. And there was another one here. It was about changing. Yes, this one. Another good question from Enk on Facebook. Do you believe that we should change our lesson plans a little after some sessions based on our learners' feedback? What do you think?
Yes, well, why not? This is how organizations work, companies work, people, services. We want to improve, and to help us improve, we often solicit feedback. So why not?
And I would say that feedback doesn't have to be in like a formal question to the students. I think there's a lot that you can sort of see
Oh yeah.
by noticing, feeling the energy levels, feeling the time. One of my students said to me the other day, "Oh, what time is it?" And I always think, "Uh-oh, they're so bored." But I said, "Oh, we've only got 5 minutes left." And he said, "Wow, already?" And so then for me, that is feedback that means it's okay. But when I see them starting to be distracted, or if an activity goes very quickly, then I'm not going to maybe do that one again with that particular class. So it can be feedback in terms of, like, some teachers do like a questionnaire, or they have little focus groups, and others I think you can do a quick feel and see.
Yeah, that with facial expressions, I think is one. Doesn't always work with teenagers because they have the same expressions most of the time anyway. But yeah, I mean, feel the energy.
Exactly.
Definitely. Obaidranda on Instagram. I kept previous lesson planning just as a reminder to develop according to the learners. So yeah, it's having
Nice.
things in your head, but knowing the sort of the nuances that you might adjust along the way.
There's a few here writing about, like, do you plan? Maria it's easier to use a notebook, and Zohra handwriting. Um, yeah, I think well, because I share with other teachers, I kind of do both. So I have my handwritten one that I have in class because I can easily glance at it and see it. And I also write the main points on the board so we can tick them off as we go. But because I share, I have a more formal written one on the computer, so I can go back and look at last year's and adjust a little bit for that. Of course, I haven't I haven't got my filing naming very well, so it's sometimes hard to find them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Also, says Annie, we need to make sure we might have a plan B. Planning lessons doesn't always work out, but of course it may help a lot, and AI is a powerful tool. Plan B, yes.
Plan B.
So for me, we work in the garden. So if it's a really bad weather day, I need to be able to have a few things that we can do, like either inside the greenhouse or inside the classroom as a plan B.
Absolutely. Karen, I've just changed the banner at the bottom of the screen.
Yes, very good. I'm just catching up on some messages. Oh, fantastic comments! I love it. This is
So
fantastic.
many.
Lesson planning is quite a thing. Okay. Yes. Here we go.
All right. Oh,
We're coming on to a little different segment. I'm going to switch off my. Okay, I'm ready. Is everybody ready for this little
I'm
segment?
ready. All right, let me just show the video. You may have noticed, teachers, recently on our social media that we've been asking you to share your story. So yes, we're asking you for your video submissions. Nice and short, up to a minute. We'll pop a link to the website where you can submit your video in a moment, but we just want to show you how you might do that.
Yes.
Karen?
Shall I start?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're asking for little videos from you, teaching tip, how you've adapted a lesson plan, like Marcus said, up to a minute, and for you to submit your videos to us. So I'm going to do a little example with my phone. I have my phone here, and you'll be able to see what this looks like on here. Why? Oh, there we go. Okay, can you take off share your story for a minute?
Yes. Hang on. is it?
I'm in duplicate.
No. Sorry, Banner.
Anyway,
Banner,
so
yeah.
I've got my phone here, and this is just to show you when you're making a recording how to hold the phone. So I've got my phone, and you can see if I'm holding it right in front of me, on the second one here where I have my phone, Karen's phone. Oh, you can't, yeah. I've got it nice and steady. But if I move the phone up a little bit too much, or if I move it down a little bit too much, or if I move it too much to the side. So when you make a recording, hold the phone and look straight into the camera, and then you'll see a nice big example. So my top tip, imagine if I was making this video to submit, I would say, hi, my name is Karen, and my top tip is using students' names when I walk into the classroom. Name the students and use their names. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great tip.
Okay, so now there we go. Now I'm not there. Now it's just me.
Okay. Oh, let's remove that.
There we go.
Excellent. Okay. So you can basically share anything with us. It could be a teaching tip, like Karen's one. It could be how you've used a resource from the Teaching English website, like a lesson plan or some professional development information or articles. We'll pop a link in the chat in a moment and also on the description of this video, but check out all our platforms. You'll find a nice link that will take you to the website to do that.
And also instructions on how to submit the video.
Yes, excellent. Sorry, I was hoping to do a demo, Karen, but my phone's not behaving very well.
That's fine.
So, never mind.
That happens.
Anyway, we've been talking about lesson planning all session apart from our community call out, and we've got 3 webinars coming up in 2 weeks' time, all about creative lesson planning. So do check out the website and our socials for more information all about that.
Brilliant. Any last minute top tip? I've been really enjoying all of the comments, I have to say, of like how everybody plans and what you think about. And we had comments about like smart objectives. Sometimes I write the objective first, sometimes the lesson plan sort of evolves, and then I just, then it almost changes to something else as I go through it. But thanks everybody for all of your fantastic insights into lesson planning.
A few questions about certificate of participation. Sorry for this live chat, no, but for the webinars that are coming up in 2 weeks, there will be certificates of participation and certificates of attendance. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, for the webinars.
Absolutely. But teachers, thank you so much. Do keep the conversation going. Just because we're going away doesn't mean the conversation goes away. And yeah, sorry, I'm reading.
I know, very interesting. Yeah.
Well. It's been great. Excellent.
Wonderful.
Karen, thank you for joining us.
Thank you too, Marcus.
And teachers, have a great day.
Bye.